Mirrors, elegant and brightly shining, aiding our needs to know how we are and things that look around us. Look, they show our true selves, unless they are concave, convex, or any other different from a normal and plain mirrors. They cannot lie. If they did, reality would also be lying. Plain mirrors display our world exactly how its face gazes upon it, and nothing more needs to be said. If there was only light that existed, mirrors would be perfect, wouldn't they? Sadly, light was an enemy. If the light was not guarded in an area, it may either appear extremely sudden or slowly crawl in. Depending on how light it felt, it delves into the now more unsafe place. There were many reasons we call it now the evil one of the two. It is born with the mind-changing and shape-twisting capabilities, among hundreds of possible ways to make you feel unsettled. This enemy also manipulates mirror reflections with the cooperation of our eye. Darkness. Jack's room is filled with joy. He owns a lot of decorations, games, and loves to be a part of his room. His mom and dad adore him. They have a strong relationship. In the middle of his room, a quite-sized mirror covers a lot more of the wall on the opposite side of the bed. He uses this sometimes, and finds it quite interesting to look at himself. Such a perfect copy. Such precise details. It's just like an image with extreme detail. At the time he was in 6th grade, he didn't have that many friends though. Axel and John were his best and only friends at school. Does that matter anyway? He was happy. Number of friends did not count to Jack. He was actually overly understanding when it comes to accepting things in life. Aside from that, he also did well at all the small tests they received. Late one evening, he had been out all day with Axel, completely forgetting the time, and hurried home after a goodbye. His mom was a little displeased. It was pitch dark outside. He understood and went off to sleep, not long afterwards. When entering his room, he glanced at his mirror. It was a little strange. He had never arrived home this late, and never had been able to see his mirror in such gloomy blackness. He could hardly see anything though, and his room had lack of lights, which he used to. His eyes had to adapt the darkness properly for some seconds. He could see his reflection in the mirror now, but it was unclear. For what appeared to be quick seconds, he noticed a cut on his wrist. He slowly shook his head rapidly and examined his real body wrist. Nothing. Looking at the mirror again, he did not spot any cuts. Stupid mirror in the dark, making him unable to see himself properly. He knocked it off and went to sleep. Before falling asleep, he thought about this whole weird experience. The following day, his father had already made his early meal, and said that it was a little late. He consumed the food very quickly and then ran to the school. He made it in time. Luckily before him, he just saw the other pupils walking slowly in the darkness of the classroom. Queued up, Axel and John were behind, and they put on a chat. During the lesson, which was cooking, he got the orders to take some tools to the secondary section of the classroom, where his group stood. While holding the tools, he beamed down on the floor and noticed the oiled vegetable, and it wasn't able to react. He slipped over and had a knife cut to his wrist. The blood flowing along the side pupils' scared shrieks was a little terrifying. The teacher took a hold of him and yelled that this was anything deadly or critical, and got their mouths shut. Jack was led to the medical section of the school, and easily got the cut fixed in a matter of minutes. He had Axel and John to follow him home after school. His mom and dad didn't do much about it, and told him to take care of himself while handling such troubling, sharp tools. He blanked out while sitting on his desk, constantly thinking about the resemblance between today's event and the mirror from yesterday. This made him stay up late. He felt unsettled. Darkness had flushed the room as if life stared lifelessly forward. Suddenly awakening from his locked glare, he broke his unfocused mind and took off his clothes to sleep. He bent down on the bed but stopped. He had the urge to go check that mirror again. His reflection was normal, although afterwards, what he could spot in the mirror made him regret instantly. His jaw was wedged as if it was shredded or terribly frayed. For worse, he noticed too, carved into the mirror. Hitting the mirror, he emptied the anger. He had to sleep. This was just his mind tricking him. Waking up the next day, he had a severe headache, making him grumpy. He did not say a thing to his mother while eating breakfast. He grabbed his bag and went off halfway to school. He carefully raised his arm and looked at the bandage cut. It made him sigh. He lowered his hand, only accidentally slip on the stone and fall down to a massive bed of thorns placed throughout the slope. His body did not receive that many cuts on his lower body, but his face, mostly the mouth and chin, were completely ripped up. He felt so uneasy at this moment that he had to run from his house in fear. Arriving at his house, he dashed upwards, without bandaging or healing his wound anyway, and looked at his mirror. He saw the normal, unwounded Jack. The carving was violently scratched out and left with one beside. He panicked. It couldn't possibly be a normal person's work. The uncertainty just kept him frightened for the rest of the remainder of the day. The father bandaged his jaw calmly later that day, making sure it would heal light. Luckily, his father made him smile. He diminished the hasty breaths Jack had to take. Jack finally fell asleep in the hands of his father's relieving hands. He rolled over the quilt over to Jack and carefully placed his hand on the pillow. So dark outside, the father stood up and was on his way to exit Jack's room. He saw a few scratches on Jack's mirror, and it looked like some crazed person had scratched a mirror with a knife or something similar. Next to the scratches was a one carving, which could have been done by the same tool. Did Jack note something to himself? He thought. Before turning around and exiting the room, Jack's reflection vanished abruptly. He rubbed his eyes and could not see much difference. Jack's reflection still missed. Maybe the darkness was too much for his eyes. He didn't want to waste time adapting it. Morning grew bright. His mother yelled for Jack and received no answer. 10 minutes before his lesson group began, she rushed upstairs and didn't find him anywhere. Maybe he had left without her noticing. She then saw now how she looked around the room. She did not think about how surprisingly clean it was there. But what were those two clusters of deep scratches in the mirror?
What's up, my pretties? It's the Lion Queen here. I want to appreciate you all for tuning into this video, and I do appreciate you guys supporting my video by giving this video likes and stuff. If you really enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications to when I upload so that way you guys will get updated for whenever I upload. If you want to follow me on Twitter or DeviantArt, feel free to leave a follow on those if you are interested in following me on those socials. If you want to support my backup channel, known as Miss Dark Shigo, feel free to subscribe to it, as a link to that will also be in the About page section. And with that being said, and that being the case, thank you so much for watching, my pretties, and as always, stay pretty.